with breaking news hot off the press. So it looked like Caitlin Clark could be returning this week after all.
A tiny roster line in Indiana just sent a shockwave through the league. Not a blockbuster trade, not a press conference. One small cut, and suddenly everyone's reading between the lines. Is this the sign that Caitlin Clark is finally about to step back on the floor? Or is Indiana playing the longest, quietest game of misdirection we've seen all season? Keep your eyes open, because in the W, the smallest moves usually mean the biggest things. The Fever waived guard Kyra Lambert after a blink-and-you-missed-it stint. On paper, that's routine. End-of-bench guards come and go. But in this league, these small transactions are often tells. Short-term deals cover practices, injuries, and schedule crunches. They end when the math changes. If a team trims a depth guard who barely saw the floor, it often means one of two things. An injured player is inching closer, or a temporary roster patch just isn't needed anymore. The timing is what grabs you. Indiana didn't have to make this move right now. They chose to. That's why fans are treating a quiet cut like it's the drum roll before the curtain rises. If you've been tracking this story, you've noticed something else. Silence. No splashy hint posts. No clever captions from teammates. No targeting a date tease from the staff. In this league, silence is rarely random. It usually means one of two things. There's bad news to protect, or there's a reveal being staged, and silence breeds suspense. The less the team says, the more fans start piecing together clues. Who's traveling, who's not, who's getting extra work in, who's talking around questions. It's not proof, but it's a pattern. And right now, Indiana is following it to the letter. There are always two clocks in a comeback. The first is the body's clock, slow, stubborn, and honest. The second is everything else. A brutal schedule, a standings race that doesn't wait, and the reality that a star like Clark changes not just the team, but the broadcast, the attendance, the energy. Reports suggest patience, even several more weeks. That doesn't cancel out a near-term return. It just means the people closest to the situation are fighting for caution while the calendar begs for urgency. There's no perfect answer. You either protect the long game or chase the short one. Every franchise says they'll pick health over hype. Not every franchise lives it when the lights come on. Let's talk actual basketball, because this is where the story stops being rumor and becomes math. Clark's gravity stretches defenses into uncomfortable shapes. Early drag screens in transition matter more because help can't leave a shooter who's dangerous 2 steps past the arc. Aaliyah Boston gets deeper seals because the weak side tagger won't abandon the perimeter. Kelsey Mitchell's catches are cleaner because that second defender is a step late, worried about a back cut into a pocket pass. Even the simple stuff, dribble handoffs into a re-screen, ghost screens that force a switch without contact, second side pick and rolls, suddenly feel like traps for the defense. That's her value beyond the highlights. She turns hard reads into easy ones. Role players look faster, smarter, freer, because space does that, and Indiana's entire identity tilts toward pace and precision the minute she checks in. Now for the rumor mill. Social feeds are buzzing with theories. Surprise signings, cover-ups, mystery deals. Some of those names don't make sense contractually. Some theories are born from anxiety, not information. Here's a grounded way to read it. If the Fever cut a guard who barely cracked the rotation, they're either clearing a seat for someone they know is close, or they're reshuffling depth. If this is about Clark, you'll see a paper trail, an injury status bump, credible beat reports about practice activity, a travel photo, a morning of nod that she'll warm up and see how it feels. If it's not about her, you'll see a quick ad, another short-term guard, a hardship note, a clean swap. In this league, transactions are the body language. Watch those, not the noise. There's also a practical question nobody can dodge. When do you bring her back? Some opponents are straight-up gauntlets. Physical, detailed, relentless. That's not where you want your first minutes after a layoff if you can help it. Other matchups are more forgiving. Less travel, less length at the point of attack, fewer traps on ball screens. Coaches will try to pick a night where she can ramp up without being thrown into the deep end. But the truth is, the perfect soft landing rarely exists when you're chasing wins. So the plan becomes simple and strict. Short stints early, rigid minute caps, targeted actions in the playbook, and a clear between games recovery schedule. If you see her first game is 16 to 20 minutes with a quick hook in both halves, that's not doubt. That's discipline. Here's a reality everyone feels, even when they don't say it. Caitlin Clark changes the business of the night. Every night. Ratings move, tickets move, headlines follow. That matters for a league building momentum and for a franchise hungry to stay relevant every time the schedule drops. But rushing a star to chase a spike can cost you twice. Once if she struggles, and again if there's a setback. The smartest organizations treat the hype clock and the health clock like two negotiators at the same table. You don't let one overpower the other. You make them shake hands. If you want to know when it's real, look for small signals that stack together. Injury status. Out becomes doubtful. Doubtful becomes questionable. Team travel. If she's on the road, that's meaningful. Practice chatter. A beat reporter noting she participated in portions is a breadcrumb. Game day routine. Available, minutes monitored is the language of a careful return. If it's not her, expect a quick contract announcement to fill the empty chair. Either way, this won't sit in limbo for long. When she does step back in, whether that's this week or after a bit more patience, the first 5 minutes will be more honest than the box score. Watch the first ball screen coverage. Do they hedge her? Blitz her? Sit under and dare her to shoot early? Watch her pace in transition. Push for the rim or probe for kickouts. Watch Boston's position. Are the seals deeper because the tagger won't leave the arc? And watch how fast the staff pulls her in that opening stint. A quick hook isn't panic. It's the plan working. Confidence is built in controlled reps. The stat line can wait. With Clark in the lineup, Indiana stops trying to win in a phone booth. The floor widens. Actions flow from side to side instead of stalling at the top. Mitchell turns into a closer against single coverage instead of a primary creator against two bodies. The wings cut with purpose because there's actually room to finish. Even the defense benefits from better shot quality. Long rebounds become runouts, and runouts become easy points that let you set your defense. That's the quiet domino effect of a returning star. Everyone's job gets a little simpler. Let's be fair. Sometimes a cut is just a cut. Maybe the Fever wanted a different look at the end of the bench. Maybe a previously unavailable player is trending up, making the extra guard expendable. Maybe the front office is simply cycling through profiles they like before the deadline. If that's the case, the follow-up move will come fast. But if nothing else happens in the next couple of days, and Clark's status nudges even a little, then this tiny move is probably the first domino, not the last. There's also the mental part of a comeback that never makes the injury report. Second-year stars don't get grace periods. Every possession gets a microscope. Every miss becomes a take. Clark's handled noise before, but this return carries its own weight. The smart counter is to turn the moment into a plan. Limited minutes, clean actions, a short list of reads, and a promise to expand once rhythm arrives. That protects the player and the team. It also turns the narrative into a slow burn instead of a one-night referendum. Don't forget the ripple. The instant a status flips to active, opponents rewrite game plans. Help shifts out a step. Traps arrive higher. Off-ball defenders sit in lanes they ignored last week. That opens the counters Indiana loves. Slips out of fake screens. Short rolls with shooters in both corners. Hammer actions to the weak side when the defense leans one pass too far. That's why her return matters beyond Indiana. One player changes the geometry, and the geometry changes the league. So where does this go? If the roster cut is the tell it looks like, the next few days should bring clarity. A status upgrade, a travel sighting, a practiced but limited note from a credible reporter. And then, one night, a clean, simple update. Available, minutes monitored. If that doesn't happen, expect another transaction to slide into that empty seat and push the timeline back. Both paths are logical. Only one makes the building buzz. This is how the W whispers big news. A quiet cut, a quiet team, and a schedule that isn't waiting for anyone. Somewhere inside, that silence is a plan, either to bring Caitlin Clark back with a runway or to buy a little more time until the runway is ready. When she does return, don't chase the box score. Watch the little things. The first pocket pass that hits a cutter in stride. The second defender who hesitates just enough to give Boston the angle. The wing who suddenly has room to breathe. That's when you'll know it's real. That's when Indiana stops surviving and starts becoming the team it's supposed to be. And that's why one tiny move on a transactions page can flip the temperature of an entire league, because sometimes the smallest decisions aren't small at all.